welcome everyone to another episode of Guards Down. This is Greg Washington, and today I have with me Christian Montagliani. Christian, how's it going?
I'm doing very well, Greg. How about yourself?
Good. If you could please tell us a little brief background about yourself.
Sure, absolutely. I was born in Clinton, Maryland, Prince George's County area. Both of my parents were federal employees. Mom worked at the census. My father worked at the DOD. So lived there until I was 9. Then we moved to Morgantown, West Virginia, which is where my family is from. Ended up graduating high school. I played some college football with you at West Point. I went there for 3 years. I was academically separated from there. Wasn't the best behavior-wise, but got separated from there, went back to West Virginia University, got my mechanical engineering degree, and then came down to Dallas. It's just a good job market down here, and I'm currently run a recruiting firm that helps military veterans find jobs post-service.
No, that's awesome. So we did play football together. That's one of the ways that, we met. We were actually classmates, so we went through the whole spiel with 9/11 happening and being freshmen, going through all of the military training, and of course football. And so for, everybody has their own paths that they have to go down, and for you to be able to overcome those obstacles and then, still go to a great school and get an education, like that's a good bit. Right, or a good deal. Today, what we wanted to talk about or get into is more so around complex grief, and touch a little bit on PTSD. Christian here, he wants to just kind of give some words of encouragement to those that are out there. Talk through some of the things he went through, and of course, how he dealt with them, and see if they can help, someone else that's out there. So, Christian, I'll just kind of, let you start to tell, your story, and we'll just talk and, go back and forth in between there.
Absolutely. So, I've never diagnosed with PTSD, never served overseas. I am a veteran, got my honorable discharge, but, never went through the things that folks like you went through, Iraq, Afghanistan, overseas, and things like that. So most of my issues have been dealing with grief, and a lot of it is just life. I think during the times that we knew each other, I would tell you that my issues really started dating back in college when I got kicked out of West Point. It was very depressing for me. I felt like a failure towards my family, for my town, for my state. You get a chance to meet with the governor before you go, and I felt like I'd let down some people who didn't deserve to be let down. So I think there was that, and then just never actually dealing with that and moving forward in my life and experiencing death. I have lost both my brother and my father to cancer. My brother had melanoma, my father had colon cancer, and now my mother is stage 4 breast cancer. She lives down here in an assisted living facility in Dallas near me, so we still have the opportunity to spend a lot of time together, and she's around my granddaughter. But that death is just part of life, but dealing with those issues, and again, never really seeking out psychological counseling or talking to somebody who would just listen to me. And then after moving to Dallas, things went well down here. But I've had some situations where, again, my mother got diagnosed with her cancer, and I lost the job, and I deal with a lot of chronic pain. I have issues in both shoulders, as well as, my low back, my left knee, and my left ankle all have been graded for surgery by the VA, but they tell me I'm too young, so I don't get it done. So I basically try and deal with a lot of pain management. And dealing with the VA can be, it's a nightmare. It can be mind numbing sometimes. You don't want just the pain pills or the antidepressants or the muscle relaxers. You want to go talk to somebody, or you want physical therapy, or you want pain management, and dealing with all that. And I think I'm just at a point in my life now where it's just been compounded. I lost a job in early 2018 that I was in my exit process. I had like 6 months. I'd been there 7 years and wanted to get out of there, but I got let go, early on in that process, and wasn't really prepared for the transition. And I think a lot of people struggle with just general transitions in their life, from one job to another, from single to married, from no kids to kids. There are just so many different transitions. And, again, it's just been life that's hitting me. I'm not going through any more than anyone else out there. But what I've recently found that has helped me out the most is, making sure that I'm not isolated, and seeking out professional help. It took me over a year to get professional help through the VA in terms of psychological counseling, and I'd requested it many times and didn't qualify for it, and unfortunately had to pay for it out of pocket. But it was what was necessary at just a tough time mentally for me in my life. And I would definitely advocate and advise for folks who, they feel isolated, they feel depressed, they're trying to get into the VA, things aren't happening. Keep pushing, keep reaching out to folks that you served with in the past, keep pushing, reaching out to family members, the support system that's around you. And, especially if you're dealing with the VA, if they deny you, keep going back and asking again, keep talking to the social worker, keep talking to your primary care physician. You've sent me some recent statistics about, suicide among veterans post-military service, and it's heart-wrenching. It's depressing to read those statistics. And a lot of the time, like you kind of taught me in the brief to your program, the financial instability, but just the isolation, not going out and seeking help is what's, getting a lot of these guys and gals to the mental state in their mind. And I would, be one of the first people to say, just keep asking for help, keep talking to your friends, keep talking to those who have served with you before. But
I know to kind of start to like dissect, right, this whole part. So speak on the actual like physical pain. So I mean, you and I, we both played football, our whole, basically more than half our life, right? And so between the recent studies that come out about CTE, and then just the hits and stuff that you put on your body. Football is a great sport, has always been a great outlet for me, of course for you as well. But just like any job or any high impact sport that you play, there comes like
long-term consequences.
To your body. And so understanding that you have those kind of pains, kind of talk to us about, how it felt coming from being, a star athlete to, now dealing with chronic pain, right?
That's definitely a large part of, I kind of talk about just life that I'm dealing with. And, honestly, something that is depressing to me when I think about it 100% is, identified as an athlete for so much of my life. And then you get to a point in your life where, that's no longer part of your life, but you can't participate in those activities. For me, post-military, the most soothing thing in the world was going out and finding an open gym, playing 5-on-5 basketball, and just running up and down the court. Didn't have to be competitive. I didn't have coaches yelling at me. I could sub myself in and out, but playing sports, getting out there and playing rec volleyball and stuff like that. And when you lose the ability to do that, it's very depressing. And you see it on former professional athletes, people who suffer. I think there was a wide receiver who committed suicide, McKinney, wide receiver from South Carolina a while ago. I can't imagine what the professional athletes go through mentally, because I wasn't that great. You know, you were the team captain. You were really good. You may have been an NFL type caliber. I just wasn't that. I wanted to play Division I football, and Army was my one offer. So therefore, that was where I was going to go. There was no other option for me, and there was a drive to do that. And now I'm paying the consequences. You know, I went in as a 190-pound quarterback, and by the time I left there, I was 245-pound tight end, and now I have arthritis in both shoulders. I have a, herniated disc at L5S1. I have no cartilage in my left knee, and I've had my ankle reconstructed 2 times, and now it needs to be done a 3rd time. It's a compounded issue, because, hey, I deal with the chronic pain, but also I can't go out there and enjoy that camaraderie of being on a sports field or a basketball court or just the fun of playing volleyball or tennis. I can't do that. And it's incredibly difficult. And then you throw in the fact that the VA wants to, and I don't want to bash the VA. There are some good aspects to it, but there are also some very inefficient, ineffective modalities that they have, and they'd much rather give you pain pills or antidepressants or muscle relaxers than get you into physical therapy or a chiropractor or getting you to see a pain management doctor. And I think that definitely, it kind of exacerbates the issue that you're dealing with of, hey, I'm no longer a former athlete. I deal with all of this pain on a daily basis. I struggle to sleep. Sometimes, you talked about CTE. I went from, never hitting with my head to hitting with my head all the time. And I used to be a math expert. I got an 800 on that math side of my SAT. I can't do that anymore. That's just the fact. And that's also something you think about, it's not a daily basis, but when you go through this. So, being an athlete, especially being a football player at a collegiate or professional level, there are going to be some long-term issues that you're going to have to deal with. And I wasn't prepared at all. It's just nothing I ever thought about at 18, 19, 21, years old. And so, now you think about it all the time.
So you go through, the physical pain, and then my condolences for, the loss of your brother and your dad and what your mom is going through. I know that is very tough because, I myself, my mother, she had breast cancer at one point in life. Luckily for her, she caught it early and had the surgery and stuff, right? But you talk about all of these compounding issues that just kind of keep adding up as you go through life. And so at what point, well, 2 parts to it, right? Did you ever recognize any of the bad behaviors that, started to develop because of these issues? And then the other part was, at what point did you recognize that you were stuck in the grieving process, right?
Honestly, I'm probably still coming to the realization with a lot of that. I would tell you, I did take an anger management class in Dallas through a gentleman, Dr. Carl Robinson, and he talks about identifying behaviors and how to realize when he called it an anger clock. Basically there's something where somebody else or something happens in your life that creates an experience, and then there's a certain amount of time between when you have that happen and when you actually react to it, and you need to be owner over that period of time. So having somebody else write it out in a way that made sense for me is probably when it started clicking the most. And it used to be I didn't identify the behaviors until after the fact, and you would have to deal with a negative consequence. And now what I'm starting to transition into after taking these classes, and I'm currently in counseling. I've been going for, I think, 7 months now. And I work through, I think it's EMDR, but it's kind of like what causes you to be angry and has triggers for you, and identifying that type of behavior. That stuff I'm all working on now. I've definitely got a lot better at it, but I have a ways to go. So I'm kind of lucky in having the support system I do. You know, I got folks like you that I can call on. I got my therapist. I've got, you know, a group of really good friends of mine from high school, from Morgantown, who are down here in Dallas. And I also have, you know, I'm lucky to have a sister who's got a PhD in psychology. And she's willing to talk to me. I will say she's a little bit more direct with me because she shares the last name Montagliani, so she has no problem being direct. But it's great to have that individual who has that type of educational credentials and can, you know, talk you through. You know, you go to your counselor and you get confused, and I can reach out to her and, you know, she'll talk me through it. It's been a blessing. She's also been trying to help me, push me back towards, you know, getting doing more faith-based stuff, which I would tell you I was very, very involved, you know, raised Roman Catholic, was very involved in the church up until the point where I got, you know, expelled from West Point. You know, I used to go to church twice a week at West Point. I'm starting to get back into that as well. I think you just have to find something that works for you, obviously.
I agree, you know, depending on, and this is not to get into a topic of religion, right? But,
right.
You know, you look at different organizations, whether it be religious or, you know, sports-based or whatever the case may be. But if they have a positive tone to, you know, helping mold your character and helping you identify and find, you know, answers that you need and provide that inspiration and motivation, there's definitely some support in it, right? There's
right.
some positivity to it, right? In going. So I mean, that's awesome that you're looking back into that. I guess for me, I would ask, you know, what would you tell someone out there that is going through what you've been through, right?
Yeah. Keep pushing to make yourself better. You know, it's not your fault. There is help out there, and you're going to have to be active in pursuing that help, but nobody can be a greater advocate for you than you can be yourself. You know, from a pain perspective, from a mental health perspective. So, you know, just continue to push. You know, for veterans that are having trouble with the VA, keep reaching out to that social worker, keep reaching out to that primary care physician. If they tell you no and you're looking for psychological or psychiatric treatment, you keep pushing. If you're not a veteran, if you're not part of the VA, you know, seek it out through your own private insurance. If you don't have insurance, you know, find a family member, find somebody that you've served with before. It's going to take some effort, but once you get in touch with somebody and they provide that positive reinforcement, it's almost like a weight is lifted off your shoulder. Because I know there's so many folks out there who are like, I'm dealing with all this crap on my own. I don't have anybody to help me. I don't have anybody to support me. And in most cases, that's not the truth. It's just you get so mentally wrapped up in trying to help yourself and get yourself better that you almost feel like you don't have the effort to go ahead and reach out to somebody else. When honestly, that's probably the best mode. You know, it's problems are bigger than us. Life is bigger than us individually, and reaching out and asking for the help and being persistent about it. That'd be my biggest piece of advice to anybody going through it. You know, just don't try and deal with it alone.
Yeah, I know one thing that, you know, you were explaining well, and we talked about this the other day when I asked you to be on. You were able to define what you were going through, right? Like you took the time out to learn what was ailing you. You know, you speak on, you know, your back, your L5, your S1, all of those things. You know, you speak on the anger management. And so, I mean, you literally went out and did, you know, your own research, right? And then the other part to it is you knew something was wrong with you, and you didn't let, you know, a doctor tell you no, or someone else tell you no. Like if you know that you're hurting, if you know that you're in pain, whether it's physical or mental, seek help until you get it, right?
100%, Greg. 100%.
So, Christian, I really appreciate you just opening up and sharing. It has been a pleasure. One of the things from football is when you're on the football field, you truly get to know a person, right?
Right.
Because you see them push themselves, past what you normally go through, right? So you get to see the good and the bad in everyone, and especially when you're playing on the same team, you're uplifting, right, and building each other up. So, I mean, we go way back, and
absolutely. And I'm super excited that you're doing this. I think there were a bunch of people that I looked up from an athletic perspective, but just from an individual perspective, like as a human being and as somebody that I would evaluate as a former leader of men and women as Army officers, I always looked up to you and Seth. There were two people on the football team that I looked up to that worked the hardest in the weight room, that trained the hardest out on the football field, that went the hardest in practice. And I remember junior year, I used to watch Clint Dodson and Brian Zickafoose line up across each other on the pads, and they'd hit each other, every Monday, full course. And then all of a sudden, junior year, that was me and you going back and forth.
Right.
And I just remembered I was proud of that because it was like captain of our football team. I get to go against them every day in practice. But the reason I say this is I'm so excited to see you doing this. There's nobody who's a better fit for this type of stuff to push out to folks. Hey, you're dealing with some shit, and listen to help get better. I'm glad that you're piloting this type of effort. So it's all good to see.
I appreciate it, brother. I do.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, any last words, any shout outs you'd like to give? I know that one of the things that you've been working on, right, and your attention is focused, has been on you started a business, right?
Correct. Correct. So I have my own firm. It's called Hire2Lead, and we work with transitioning military veterans, both veterans getting straight out of the service and what we call CEVs, corporate experience veterans. We typically work in a number of different industries. It's not really specific to one vertical, but the types of positions, leadership positions, engineering positions, hands-on technical roles, and sales roles at all different levels. E4 and above, and basically any officer coming out, we offer those services. And there's a number of firms in our industry who do what we do, and I would tell folks who are going through the transition, I don't want to just shamelessly plug my own company. I want to plug my industry. There are a lot of folks who've been doing this for decades and have placed hundreds of thousands of transitioning veterans. Get help while you're going through that transition. But my firm, we deal continental United States opportunities. We have your hourly roles for technicians. We got your six-figure roles for top-tier leadership and engineering candidates. So we kind of do it all, and it's definitely something I'm passionate about. My father was 82nd Airborne. I had the opportunity, to spend some time at West Point, and I'm excited about it and where we're going with the business.
So that's awesome. And so for all of you Guards Down listeners out there that are transitioning out the military or out there, whether civilian or veterans, we now have a source, a connect.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely want to be able to use this network to help each other, right? Because that's what it's all about. That's why, we have Guards Down, and the overall arching view is iron sharpens iron, right?
Absolutely.
Veterans being able to help other veterans.
Veterans helping veterans. It's my favorite hashtag on LinkedIn and Facebook. I love the thought process. I just love everything about the veteran community, and what we do for each other, how we support each other. So, yeah, I appreciate that, you pushing that out there, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody who wants help and, kind of teach them just just how to diversify their diversify their portfolio. You know, it's similar to investments, you know, getting out, same thing for jobs. You want to pick something that's going to be incredibly successful, you know, you use a lot of resources. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is Greg and Christian. We're signing off. For all of you out there, stay focused and stay engaged, and good luck. All right.
Absolutely. Thanks, Greg.